Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 23rd Town of Tecumseh Committee of Adjustment meeting. I do a roll call, and I check that all the members are present this evening, as well as the Manager of Planning Services and Local Economic Development. And Dave Dorian is also present with us this evening. And I'm Donna Ferris, Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment. Roll calls taken. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, it's duly noted. At this point in time in the meeting, we're going to do the election of the chair and vice chair. So what I'll do is I'll call for nominations for those positions. So if anybody would like to nominate a person for chairperson, please do so now, and it does have to be seconded. Okay, so if there are any nominations, calling once for nominations for chair. Tom?
I'll nominate Tom Firth.
Seconded.
Lori seconded. Calling for any other nominations, calling twice. A third time for nominations for chair. Tom, will you stand?
Yes, if I can remember to turn on my mic.
Very good then. So the motion is carried that Tom will be the chair for the Committee of Adjustment for the ensuing 4 years. At this point in time, I'll be calling for nominations for vice chairs. Calling once for nominations for vice chair. Lori?
I would nominate Tom Marentet should he accept the nomination.
Seconder, Tony?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Calling for further nominations. Second call for nominations for vice chair. Third and final nominations for vice chair. There be no further nominations for vice chair. Tom Marentet, do you stand?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All in favor? Carried. Very good. Tom, do you want to take over the meeting first?
Sure, okay. Thanks, Donna, and thank the committee for doing me the honor of making me chair. You may regret it, but that's okay. So at this point in the meeting, we have minutes that were pre-circulated. Any comments on the minutes? Addition, deletion, correction, motion? Tony?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we accept the meetings for the last meeting.
Thank you. Supported by Tom Marentet. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'd like to extend a welcome to the new committee members, Doug Petrie and Chris Landman. Welcome you to the boardroom here.
Thank you.
And,
Appreciate it.
Hope you enjoy doing this kind of work. So it is kind of fun sometimes. So our first application this evening is the Sylvester Developments on the 12th concession. Donna? We need your mic.
Application BO 123, James Sylvester Developments Limited, 3307 12th Concession Road. The purpose of the application is to sever approximately 0.5 hectares, 1.26 acres of agricultural land outlined in red and consolidate it with the abutting commercial land municipally known as 11615 County Road 42, shaded in pink as shown on the air photo. The applicant will retain a vacant agricultural lot with approximately 49.23 hectares, 121.6 acres outlined in green. The lot addition will accommodate the construction of a stormwater management pond to serve future commercial industrial development at 11615 County Road 42. The proposed severed and retained parcels are designated agricultural in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned agricultural in zoning bylaw 85-18. The parcel to which the proposed severed parcel is being added is designated business park and zoned holding commercial industrial zone H CM-1 in zoning bylaw 85-18. The following comments were heard or were received. Engineering, Public Works and Engineering Services is presently reviewing a functional service report for the commercial development proposed for 11615 County Road 42. The development recommends the implementation of a stormwater management plan that will utilize the severed parcel to contain a stormwater management pond. Acceptance of the severance should be conditional on the final approval of a FSR and a PWES and any notifications or amendments to the FSR through consultation with the owner and owner's consultant. The committee should be aware that all affected parcels, including the severed and retained parcels, and the parcel proposing the new commercial development at 11615 County Road 42 are located within the watershed of the 11th concession drain. In order to accommodate roadway and infrastructure reconstruction works on County Road 42, the 11th concession drain will require improvements which are presently being addressed under an engineering report in accordance with the Drainage Act. As such, all assessment changes resulting from severances or land use changes to the subject parcels will be captured under the new engineering report. Therefore, a separate assessment reapportionment will not be required as a condition of this severance. No comments from building, no comments from fire services. IRCA's comments are as follows. The above noted lands are subject to our development interface with wetlands and alteration to shorelines and watercourse regulations under the Conservation Authorities Act. The parcel falls within the regulated area of the 11th concession drain, Lavin Drain, Mater Drain, and Pike Creek Drain. The property owner will be required to obtain a permit and/or clearance from IRCA prior to any construction or site alteration or other activities affected by Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. IRCA recommends that the proposed lot addition merge with the lot being enlarged in accordance with the appropriate Section 50-3 and 5 of the Planning Act. County of Essex. The applicant will be required to comply with the following county road regulations. County bylaw number 2481, a bylaw to provide for the protection of highways and to provide for the installation of entranceways, and bylaw number 2480, a bylaw of the Corporation of the County of Essex to regulate the location of buildings and structures on lands adjacent to county roads. The minimum setback for any proposed structure on this property must be 85 feet from the center of the original right-of-way of County Road 42. Permits are necessary for any changes to existing structures or the construction of new structures. The county requests to be included in discussions in the future development of 11615 County Road 42. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Donna. I thought I saw Josette here. Yeah, Josette, you want to turn your camera on?
Sure. Sorry about that. Hi.
There you are. And
Jeanette.
Mrs. Sylvester is there too, yeah. Is Mark McCluskey involved with this one?
No, he's not representing us on this application. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks very much. So you know the routine, you've been here before, so at this point, I just ask you if there's anything else you'd like to add that you'd let the committee know about that you think might be worthwhile?
I think Donna covered everything really well. If you have any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer.
Okay, perfect. So the committee have any questions of the applicant? Don't all come at once. Lori,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the applicant, potentially even to administration. So the purpose of the severance is to essentially a lot addition to add a segment of the parcel to an adjoining parcel, which is zoned for commercial purposes. My question is related to the commercial property, the future development, the future use of the land, and essentially if investigation or an evaluation has taken place to consider design of a stormwater management facility underground as opposed to developing out and, essentially adding land, taking land away from agricultural operation and adding on to commercial land and utilizing additional land rather than engineering a different solution on site underground, for example.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Lori. So we've started or initiated a process for a plan of subdivision on the commercial lands, and we retained AECOM Consulting. And we were working with the settlement boundary under direction with, or in consultation with Chad and Rebecca Belanger at the county. And maybe Chad wants to comment further on that, but we were asked to, in advance of the plan of subdivision process, confirm the lot addition, and then the plan of subdivision would go forward from there, because the functional servicing report is illustrating that pond within the settlement area, just beyond that 6-acre commercial. Correct, Chad?
Through Mr. Chair, that's correct. And I guess to Lori's point that she was making with respect to the use of agriculturally designated land being used for stormwater management purposes, as opposed to having the stormwater within the land zone CM. It's sort of balancing two planning objectives here. One is to more efficiently use existing designated and zoned serviced industrial/commercial land by not taking up any space with respect to a stormwater management facility and putting it within that triangular piece. Instead, knowing that we're taking a small sliver of agricultural land out of production to do that. The rationale for allowing that, or considering that, was that it's part of the County of Essex settlement area. That triangular piece of land is defined by the settlement area in the county official plan. So that gave us the sort of the rationale for proceeding this way. And in order for the applicants to submit a plan of subdivision for the commercial industrial lands, that land had to be added to the existing land prior to submitting for plan of subdivision application with the county. As for looking at probably more expensive, I'm not sure they're feasible underground solutions or anything with respect to the subject lands. I don't believe that the applicants explored that alternative.
okay, Lori?
Furthermore, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to confirm, the future plan of subdivision is a commercial or business park, industrial park in nature, and not residential?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And further to that, to Mr. Genie, the engineered solution, I think what I'm hearing you say is that the solution that is being brought forward is to expand land, so to add on to the, I guess, the layout of your future business park. I imagine there must be some sort of conceptual layout, otherwise you wouldn't be looking at additional land. And so to me, I look at this as almost putting without seeing the behind the scenes and all the work that you're doing with the county, without seeing all of that, I see this as almost putting the cart before the horse. I don't know if a stormwater management plan has been submitted and approved by the municipality as a part of the plan of subdivision. That gives me a little bit of confusion as to, why we're jumping to this pond as a solution and rather not, instead of looking underneath or, for other solutions. I'm not an expert in stormwater management engineering, but I do know that engineers can figure things out and come up with some amazing solutions without having to expand into agricultural property. I do understand that the county may deem this property as within, the settlement area. I find it concerning that we're not looking at managing stormwater on the property itself. Thank you.
Thank you. The 6 acres that is within the commercial designation is currently being farmed. So like we reviewed the opportunity to put in-ground pipes. That's just not, it's cost prohibitive to handle the stormwater in that fashion. And as far as putting the cart before the horse, there was a functional servicing report submitted to the town and to the county, and we were asked to do the lot addition in advance of finalizing that plan of subdivision application. So this is in consultation with both the town planning department and the County of Essex Planning Department for the correct process that they would like us to proceed. I don't know, Chad, if you have something further about that.
Through Mr. Chair, I just want to point out that the town's official plan does allow for stormwater management facilities to be located within lands designated agricultural. And that we have done some preliminary analysis with respect to the stormwater pond. It's not entirely complete, but it looks like it will be able to accommodate that triangular piece will be able to accommodate the proposed stormwater works. Now, it all has to be further reviewed, and that's why Public Works has asked for that condition, that it be subject to the final review of the functional servicing report. So it's not entirely cart before the horse. Conceptually, it appears as though it will work. There's further review to be done, and that review can all take place as through the requisite plan of subdivision process that the applicants will have to undertake.
Go ahead,
Just
Lori.
one more. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one last follow-up question, just to confirm. The triangular piece that's to be severed and added on to the commercial lot is in the county's settlement area, but not in the town's settlement area. And is there inconsistency in those boundaries? And if yes, will the town be looking to be consistent with those boundaries with an OPA?
Again, through you, Mr. Chair. It's not necessary at this point to undertake that because our official plan does allow for stormwater management facilities to be to exist within agriculturally designated areas. There will be a necessary rezoning as part of the plan of subdivision process to zone that triangular parcel for the purposes of a stormwater management facility, though. I suppose at a future iteration of our official plan, we would likely adjust the boundary to reflect both the county settlement area and this proposal, should it proceed.
Okay. Lori, you're finished?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Tom?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Lori makes a good point, and I guess my question, what I'm hearing from Chad, and maybe Chad, you can elaborate further, but that there has been calculations done on the volume of stormwater required for whatever this development looks like. What if things change and the volume is not correct? Am I missing something? I mean, I would agree. It seems like we should be reviewing some sort of a site plan to understand what is happening here versus a piece of land that was carved out with some sort of consideration. I'm not sure. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit. I'm just a little confused.
Sure. And again, through you, Mr. Chair, no, you're quite right. And that's why we're recommending that the approval of the stormwater management facility, the FSR associated with it, be made a condition of the severance. So if that final approval is not realized, then the severance doesn't go through. There is no severance, and then the applicants would have to go back to the drawing board, eliminate an industrial lot, perhaps, or half of an industrial lot, in order to accommodate the septic system on site, or revise the stormwater plan to fit within that triangular piece. But so far, they've conceptually illustrated that it can work. There's just some more detailed analysis to be done before it's finalized.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Tony?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess my question would be more for administration. Can you explain how the zoning is going to be taken care of through the merging? Because as it stands, the property would have a split zoning, but reading through the papers, that would be corrected at one point.
Sure. Thank you again, through you, Mr. Chair. So once this property merges with the property to the north, assuming that the stormwater management facility gets its approvals, it would then form part of an application for plan of subdivision, a commercial industrial subdivision that would go to the county for approval. And through that process, the town would request that the county make the approval of the plan of subdivision subject to a rezoning to place the triangular piece into a zone that permits it, which would simply be a specific zone that would allow for a stormwater management facility.
In the comments that you made earlier, you said though the stormwater would still could still be done in an agricultural zone though.
Through Mr. Chair, actually, I indicated that the designation allows for stormwater facility. The zoning, the agricultural zone that applies to the property doesn't allow for a stormwater management facility, and that's why the rezoning would be necessary. Yeah.
Okay, Tony? Okay, anybody else have questions? Tom?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Maybe another question to Chad. I assume that field is tiled, so currently that portion of the land drains to where? So I guess the question would be, the outlet is changing. Is the outlet changing on here? From what I heard, the pond is going to drain to County Road 42. Is
Chad?
that correct?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I in terms of where the current, that part of the field is draining, and if there are tiles within that field and where they drain to, I believe that the applicants would be best equipped to answer that question. But that would all have to be addressed through the stormwater study that's been submitted. They would have to reroute any tile drains, remove it from that parcel, and then the stormwater would drain to the appropriate outlet. But I would, Mr. Chair, if I think it would be appropriate for the applicant to chime in on this.
Sure, Josette?
Thank you. So the drainage area in the report identifies that the 11th concession drain is being reworked with the County Road 42 road reconstruction. And these lands currently drain to the 11th concession drain. And so that triangular shape actually is going into the 11th concession drain in the current drainage report, and any amendments to how that's going will be finalized with I believe it's Dillon Consulting is working on that drainage report. And I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it was the comments from Public Works identified that those drainage areas will not require any reapportioning due to this lot addition.
That's why it's shaped that.
So I think that's covered off by Public Works in that perspective. Is that helpful?
Okay, thank you.
Chad, on that point, it's usual for us to ask on a realignment of boundaries, especially against agricultural uses, that the one of the conditions of the severance would be to make sure that the farm property drainage has their own outlet, so that there's no conflict in terms of drainage between the agricultural property that's left and the back end of that industrial property. So would that be an appropriate condition?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I believe it would. And yeah, that is, it's common to do that if there are, field tiles that run through the property, that they be redirected or capped or whatever it takes to ensure that they're still continuing to drain the field and outletting to the appropriate drainage outlet.
Yeah, okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, then are we ready for a motion of some sort?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I do actually have one more question. It's too late to hit the,
Okay,
put my hand up. Just to confirm, so question 2, administration. If the stormwater management plan / functional service ring report shows that the severed parcel, we'll call it the triangle, is not large enough or is not configured appropriately, will this application lapse and will a new application be brought forward? Is that kind of the, we'll call it the vision, should the stormwater management plan and FSR not be approved by the town?
Through Mr. Chair, that that's one option. The other option is that the application could come back before the committee for an amendment, for consideration for an amendment. And there is a bit of flexibility with respect to the size of the block when it comes to configuring it within the settlement area, because it's not a precise, the settlement area boundary for the county. It's not a precise measurement. It's done at a scale that appears to encompass that triangular piece that's shown, and that was the rationale, the justification for it. But there are options to go a bit beyond that if necessary, but that would have to come back to the committee for the committee's consideration to amend it. And again, as I mentioned before, the other option would be that the application is abandoned altogether, and the stormwater solution takes up some space within the existing fully serviced zoned area.
okay. Okay, anybody else? I jumped the gun there. Oh, Harry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Well, just one further follow-up question on the reasoning for this application at this time before any site plan has been identified. And maybe it's just a simple answer, but my question is this application before us because it's in conjunction with the drainage report that's being prepared for the works on County Road 42 and the 11th concession drain? Is that the whole reason that we're seeing this application now? Just from my understanding, and maybe for others that are wondering why we're seeing this application without a plan of development.
And through Mr. Chair, it's primarily before you now because in order for the applicants to submit a plan of subdivision application, they have to consolidate this land with the land that's zoned for the commercial industrial development. Once that's done and it's under one ownership, it can be submitted to the county for approval. And I should note that there's a public process associated with that plan of subdivision approval process. So just as there is with the Committee of Adjustment. So that goes to the County of Essex. And there will be conditions attached to the plan of subdivision that specify that there will be a rezoning necessary, that they will have to demonstrate that the stormwater management works, that the other services are in effect, that there's capacity available in the other services, including sanitary and water, etc. But there's another process involved in that.
To point of clarification,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, the public process is only for the rezoning. Under Bill 23, one of the changes to the Planning Act was that plans of subdivision are no longer subject to public meetings. So they would go straight to the approval authority.
In this case, though, there's the requisite rezoning that would then get that through a public process. There'd have to be a meeting before council to consider the rezoning. And the same notification range would involving 120 meters surrounding the subject property would be distributed to landowners in the area and a public meeting held. So I
Okay,
guess there's more opportunity for review of this application by the necessary technical bodies as well as council.
okay. Thank you, Chad. Lori, you good? All right. Any other questions? So are you ready for a motion now? Somebody, Lori?
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so I do have some comfort knowing that the conditions of consent would need to be met prior to submitting applications for a plan of subdivision. With that said, the application does meet the intent of the PPS, or sorry, it's consistent with the PPS, meets the intent of the zoning bylaw and the town's official plan, as well as the county's official plan, thankfully, especially for settlement areas, and great work on the policy in the town's official plan to allow for stormwater management funds to be permitted on agricultural property. So for those reasons, I would move to support the application with the conditions as laid out in the planning report.
Okay, do you want to add a requirement that the existing tile drainage be disconnected as we would usually do?
As a part of the severance application, or wouldn't that be reviewed under plan of subdivision?
No, it's usually done when the boundary changes to prevent conflict between the two properties.
Sorry, and I think I may have missed that. Is that not a condition in the planning report?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
No, Mr. Chair, that wasn't a condition that was recommended in the planning report, but it is a condition that has been imposed in the past, where there are, potentially field tiles. And I see that Josette has her hand up, and maybe she would like to comment on this, but it is a condition where, if there are field tiles running through the parcel that's to be added to another parcel, they have to be relocated.
Josette?
Thank you. I don't believe that section of field is tiled, so I'm assuming it's not necessary. I suppose if you put the condition that the field isn't tiled, then it's obviously met. I don't need to do anything. It just becomes a moot point. Is that correct?
Sure, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
If
because I
you
don't
start
believe
working-
it'll.
If you start working back there and you find tile, I think that's when you'd have a problem. But if you can assure us that there are no tile, then it has no impact on you.
Yeah, I don't believe that section is tiled. It won't be a concern.
Okay, it's kind of a standard one. I was surprised that it wasn't there in the recommendations, but there you go. I'm dealing with something similar myself in Lakeshore, and that's definitely one that comes up all the time. Okay, so anybody want to make a motion? Tony,
I believe Lori did. I was just gonna second it with the 7 conditions.
I'm sorry, you're right. So
With the
Lori, with that addition to your motion?
I was gonna add that in, but obviously it would be a moot point. So even if we add it in, it just has no. If the field isn't tiled, it's irrelevant at that point.
Okay,
That's fine. That's fine as an, I guess, an amendment, but so long as the language doesn't hinder any movement, I think if it just does become a moot point, then it's a condition that could be lifted.
exactly. Paul, did you second it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your patience, Sylvester. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay. So now we have an application for minor variance, sequel tool and mold on Blackacre.
The purpose of the application is to request relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaw 85-18. Subsection 14.1.7, which establishes the maximum building height as 10.5 meters, 34.4 feet. Subsection 14.1.9C, which establishes interior side yard width as 6 meters, 19.68 feet. The proposed relief will facilitate the construction of a 1,672 square meter, 17,997 square foot warehouse addition having a height of 12.2 meters, 40 feet, which will be constructed in 2 phases. A 60 square meter, 645.8 square foot lunchroom addition is also being proposed, resulting in a westerly side yard width along the lunchroom addition only of 1.5 meters, 4.9 feet. See the attached site plan. The property is designated business park in the official plan and zoned industrial M1 in zoning bylaw 85-18. And this is for application A of 123, sequel tool and mold at 2085 Blackacre Drive. The following comments were received. Engineering. The town's engineer has no comments regarding the requested minor variance. However, the owner and owner's engineering consultant should be made aware that the site servicing grading drawings and detailed stormwater management report addressing quantity and quality will need to be submitted for the proposed future development on this property as part of the building permit process, which must be reviewed and approved by the town engineer prior to the issuance of a building permit. The owner and owner's engineering consultant should be made aware that the town of Tecumseh recently completed a stormwater master plan for the Old Castle Hamlet, which includes the subject property. The stormwater master plan includes a holistic capacity review of the current storm sewer systems and drains in the area with consideration of both current and future development. The stormwater requirements, including but not limited to quantity and quality control, building flood proofing, and site storage will ultimately need to be satisfied for the town of Tecumseh as part of the site plan control evaluation process. Buildings comments. All submissions are subject to compliance with the Ontario Building Code. It is important for the site plan design architect engineer to ensure they have met prior and reviewed the project with the building designer and owner to ensure all building code requirements are addressed before the requisite site plan is approved and at a time of permit application. Erica's comments. We have reviewed our floodline mapping for this area and has been determined this site is not located within a regulated area under the jurisdiction of ERCA. As a result, a permit is not required. However, pending future site plan review initiated by the municipality, an application for development review may be required from this office. If this property is subject to site plan control, we request to be included in the circulation of the site plan control application. An application for development review may also be required. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks very much, Donna. Mr. McCluskey is here for this one, Donna. Do you
That's right.
think? If we get him turned on his mic and his picture.
Thank you, everybody. I just thank you for taking this time today. I just had one clarification on the opening statement there from Donna. She had mentioned that the 18,000 square foot addition was for a warehouse. It's actually for a manufacturing, an extension of the manufacturing that's currently occurring in their plant. So I think Donna has covered everything in the report, and I'm essentially here to address any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCluskey. Questions from the committee? Laurie,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I unmuted myself before I even put my hand up. So through you to administration, Mr. Jeffrey, could you just walk us through the adjacent land uses, just for, I guess, public knowledge and just for the record, the adjacent land uses as well as their zoning designations?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I could put the photograph back up, but the surrounding area is entirely industrial and zoned industrial, designated business park.
okay, that help? Anybody else? Nobody else? Nobody's got anything? This is under site plan, so. Okay, and it's quite a large addition. Is there a lot coverage provision? Or is that dealt with in terms of the drainage design?
Sure, there is a lot coverage provision, and this proposal meets the bylaw and every other requirement. The exceptions being what is being requested in the way of relief, and that's the easterly side yard just for that lunchroom addition and the height.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Laurie?
Thank you once again, Mr. Chair. Just to confirm, however, unless I got it mistaken, the additional height, say variance that the applicant is looking to obtain is not related to the lunchroom. Is that correct? The lunchroom is just for the side yard or rear yard.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
So can we get some clarification from the applicant as to the purpose or I guess there were, maybe the hardship that may have endured as a result of the maximum building height and why it could not be met, please?
I guess through you, Mr. Chairman, the main purpose of the current height requirement, if I recall correctly, is 36 feet. And because of the new product that's coming in that they're manufacturing, they require cranes that have to have a higher hook height. And right now that exact height is not known, but it's somewhere between 38 to 40 feet. So we're requesting that little bit of relief to basically accommodate the overhead crane hook height and so that it can facilitate this new product that they're developing.
Okay, Laurie,
I guess if you want, or sorry.
okay. She's good.
Okay.
She got her question answered. That's great. Tom,
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, the lunchroom, is that just a single story flat roof structure or sloping roof structure?
It'll be a single story sloping roof structure. It basically, it's a lunchroom and then obviously a small change room for the employees.
Okay, thank you.
anybody else? Paul? Yeah, Paul?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm ready to make a motion if that's all right with everybody else.
I didn't see any hands up, so go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve application A0123 on the basically it matches the area. It makes sense. There's other large buildings in the area. It's not going to make much difference in 4 feet. If it's 4 feet higher than the other buildings, and it meets the 4 steps. So like I said, I make a motion to approve the application.
Okay, supported by Tony? If nothing else, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay, carried, unanimous, I guess. Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good night.
We're not dealing with any deferrals tonight?
No, sir.
I'm sorry, are we?
No, we're not.
Under unfinished business, I'd like to simply welcome all the new members and welcome the whole team here. It's going to be a great 4 years. And glad a lot of you came back, so that's good. Is there any new business? Old business, new business, Lori?
Would this, Mr. Chair, would this be an appropriate time to ask a question to administration about schedule?
Yeah, probably that's new business. Go ahead.
So to Ms. Ferris, would we need to adopt the schedule moving forward? Is it safe to assume that our meetings are going to remain as I guess the 4th Monday of the month at 5? Is that safe to assume that our schedule is official?
Chad, do you have any information from the powers that be that we're going to stay in Zoom mode?
No, Mr. Chair, fortunately, I don't. Only that, I think I'd mentioned this previously, council meetings have gone into a hybrid format where all the directors and council members are attending. We seem to be loosening the protocols a bit. So I anticipate that we'll be back in the council chambers at some point, but I can't say with certainty when that will be.
Okay. So as far as the time and day, that wouldn't change much. It's just that we're going to be in Zoom mode for the near future, at least. I find that it's, in my own opinion, and I've always said this, it's my own opinion. It's up to the committee to decide how they want to operate, but I always find it better to be able to see somebody in person so you can observe body language and so on, and have a better communication with not only the applicants, but people who might be there to speak to the project. So my own preference is that the sooner we can get back into in-person mode, the better. I was surprised to find that the Conservation Authority's gone to full in-person. They don't have any provision at all for hybrid mode. It's not able to be done in the committee there. And my committee at county for source water is going to go in person. So, I mean, file that away, but I know that it's the senior administration that's going to decide how we can operate, right?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, I'll duly noted, and I will raise that with senior administration this week when we meet on Friday.
So having said all that, do any of you have a preference to be in Zoom mode or in person mode? Laura?
I think the flexibility is always good to have, depending on the situation. I think that if we could be flexible with residents at times, flexible with the members. I think with administration, however, it could be something to juggle and something to consider if they're going to be juggling a hybrid model. It's not easy when you have folks that are being zoomed in, and then you also have a live stream component, and you may have people in person. So it's not an easy feat, but certainly if it is something that the Clerk's Department or Legislative Services would be considering, a hybrid model would be great to have that flexibility. As far as preference, I too support you, Mr. Chair, and that notion that being in person is certainly, gosh, it's conducive to a positive environment. It's conducive to more open dialogue and communication, and it's also good for the soul.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the good news is they're getting some experience with the hybrid model with council, and certainly fine tuning that for them. So I'm not sure if there's any impediment to them doing that for us as well, if that's what the committee would prefer. I mean, that way, if you prefer to be in person, you can be there. Otherwise, you can be on the screen. And just makes it a little more difficult for me as a chair, or Tom, if he's chairing in my place, to have to deal with. I mean, I have a hard enough time with these 7 pictures. So somebody in person plus watching the 7 pictures. Anyway, that's that can be dealt with because they are doing it at council. So unless anybody has very strong feelings about that, let us know. Tom?
Yeah, I can appreciate that the hybrid model is good. It's flexible for, all sorts of reasons. And, this model is good for why we have it. But I do agree with Lori and yourself, Chair, that in person, has a tendency to generate more dialogue, more discussion, more comments, and I think that's the spirit in which how we want to operate. I will note that County Council, they have the technical equipment there, and maybe we have, or maybe it exists in the new council chambers that, the camera points to the speaker and all that stuff. Because I know at the county, when the meeting is not in county council because there's a conflict, it's much more difficult to manage. So, and I certainly don't want to complicate these or would not want to see these meetings complicated because of technical difficulties, because I struggle with it, as I'm sure I've seen throughout the pandemic, struggling with the technical challenges. So for all those reasons, I mean, yeah, in person is just better. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. I don't see any real dissent with that, so if you could pass that on, Chad, to administration and see if we can hook up the way the council does
I'll do that.
sometime in the future.
Mhm.
Anything else? Lori, you started this conversation. Did we deal with what you were actually getting at?
I don't think so. I think we were talking about schedule, and we were just going to confirm, I think, on the record, if we could adopt the schedule being for the 4th Monday of every month, give or take.
Yeah, it's give or take. There's some like December is earlier and a couple of holidays in there.
Mhm.
I think Victoria Day, it's shifted and so on, but you've been circulated with it, I'm sure. Okay. So Donna, would you like us to formally adopt the schedule?
I don't think it's necessary that it be formally adopted, because sometimes due to unforeseen things, conferences or something like that, sometimes the schedule is amended to accommodate those things. Last year it was amended due to the election. So oftentimes there's things that, come up, or sometimes there's no application. So, there wouldn't be a meeting. And then sometimes there's
Okay.
also different times where there's special meetings. So it's not been adopted in the past 6-7 years that I've been doing this. It's typically, it is in your binder. It indicates that it's the 4th Monday of the month, save and except certain circumstances where it's been adjusted accordingly. And now that I've raised the issue of binders, I've redone the binders, as there's a number of items in there that are outdated. So I'll have those binders ready for the members that haven't picked them up. So I've done the new members for them to assist them with their first meetings. And I'll be proceeding to do the other members' binders by the end of the week. So if you wanted to stop by towards the end of the week, anytime after Friday, or once I do get them ready, if it's earlier than that, I can shoot out a quick email and let you know they're available for pickup.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Donna. That's the probably insurmountable kind of job, getting the binders ready for all of us and for the new members especially. Do you foresee any training being needed for at least the 2 new guys?
We've had orientation with the 2 members already. Now, whether or not there's additional training required from HR, that will be up to the town to reach out to them for that. Also, with respect to the conference, I can maybe refer to Chad with respect to educational training that will be available this year.
Yeah,
That was approved in the budget.
that was my next question, was membership in OACA and conference budget.
Mr. Chair, we've gone back to the base budget amount for conferences. So it doesn't cover the entire cost for all 7 members in the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer to attend, but it does cover a significant proportion of that.
Okay, that's good. And membership in OACA, Donna?
I would say if you're planning on attending, I can discuss that further with Chad and send out an email regarding memberships to OACA for the 2023 season.
Okay. So you guys will let us know. You did put us on hold, I know that, so you can let us know how you're gonna lift that, or if you are. All right. Anything any of the other members have that they want to chat about? Seeing nothing, anybody want to move adjournment?
Mr. Chair, your speaker's off.
Oh, all in favor. We did that. Okay. Okay, we're adjourned.